All right, today we're talking about growth strategies that are working today. So if you're looking for growth strategies in your business, especially B2B, listen up. This is going to be really helpful for you. My guest today is Lisa Lickert. I'll tell you more about her in a second, so stay tuned.
Welcome to the Smart Business Revolution podcast, where we feature top entrepreneurs, business leaders, and thought leaders and ask them how they built key relationships to get where they are today. Now, let's get started with the show.
All right, welcome everyone. John Corcoran here. You know, if you've listened before, that we each week feature smart CEOs, founders, and entrepreneurs from all kinds of companies. We've had Netflix and Grubhub, Redfin, Gusto, Kinko's, lots of great episodes. Check out the archives. You can listen to those. And of course, before we get into this episode brought to you by our company, Rise 25, where we help B2B businesses get clients, referrals, and strategic partnerships with done-for-you podcasts and content marketing. And you can learn more about us and our new podcast co-pilot platform at rise25.com or by emailing our team at support@rise25.com. All right. And our guest here today is Lisa Lickert. She is the owner of EMI Network for about 20 plus years. She's built a career focused on helping small businesses to grow and thrive. And that's where we're going to talk about some different growth strategies that are working today. She's also put a lot of time and effort into various different organizations, such as Dress for Success, Rotary, we were just talking about a second ago, YWCA, and others. And she's based out of Cincinnati, Ohio. And Lisa, happy to have you here today. And we were talking about backgrounds and upbringings. And I've had plenty of guests on this show who say that they're out hustling, selling gum in the hallways and get busted by the vice principal. There are other people, not that different from me, who say that, I discovered entrepreneurship kind of later in life. And that was you. You said you were grown and you were raised in kind of a traditional home. And sadly, your mom passed away at a young age. And so you kind of had to step up and be the woman of the house. So tell me a little bit about what that was like for you, losing your mom and having to step up at a young age.
Well, I definitely lost my mom at a young age. However, she was given 13 years to live after thinking that she was going to pass in 6 months. So I had the most amazing childhood with the mother that lived every day like it was her last. So I think that is really what gives me my ability to see the possibilities and the opportunities versus focusing on all of the problems. So I think in many ways she powered my entrepreneurial spirit. But I was raised in a very traditional household where you serve your husband and you take care of the home. And I was very thankful for that, tradition and kind of grounded in all of that. So when she passed, I believe I was able to really kind of mourn her passing in a very different way by paying homage to who she was in our family and taking that role over, and had amazing women in my life at a very young age, really kind of influencing me. So, but I did know deep down that that wasn't my future. That wasn't something that I would be doing full time for the rest of my life. I just couldn't figure out exactly what the next step would be. I kind of fell into things as I grew up, like many of us do. Trying new things. And I knew I was going to be in charge of something. I just didn't know what small island that would be. And I had to figure that out one day. So
what was that like? You mentioned that your mom lived every day like it was her last. Was it like ice cream for dinner? Or was it like if you said, I wish we could go down to the park right now. She's like, good, let's go do it right now. Was it like putting on plays in the living room? I mean, what was it like?
Every single thing was on steroids. So it really was like that. I thought everybody lived that way. We didn't have money. We didn't have hardly any money, but it was just the experiences. It was, in the evening, if we were bored, we'd jump in the car and go down to where, the donut shop that made donuts for the second shifters. And we would have warm donuts and chocolate milk. Worst thing to do in your life at night as a kid.
Right.
But, I remember this to this day. I can remember the pajamas that I still had on as we did something that crazy. Last day of school, a mother running out into the middle of the yard to say, where's my second grader? I can't find my second grader. And having this, because I was going into third grade next year, right? So, just having these experiences, always the homeroom mom, always, the team mom on any kind of sporting event, and just really making everything fun. Every birthday, was just an incredible experience. And we didn't have money, so it wasn't the gifts and it wasn't all of that. It was just the feels and, just making sure everything was special. And we didn't really have bad days in our house. Of course, we had fights and we're grumpy and, we're human, but we really didn't have bad days in our house. I don't remember pointing back to saying, these things were just awful times and stressful times, but we didn't have much, but we definitely had, Everything You Do Matters, The Butterfly Effect, which is a book behind me. The butterfly I love not because of that whole fanciful, whimsical thing or feminine thing, but it's Everything You Do Matters. She taught me that very clearly as I was growing up.
Sounds like she lived the way that we should all live our lives, really, to embrace every day like it could be our last. I love that.
I strive for that every single day. Some days easier than others, obviously.
Yeah. So you actually go into the corporate world and you end up running $150 million division of a larger company, which is amazing. And the fact that you walked away from that to go and acquire another company is also amazing. But what did you learn from running a company of that size that you eventually took to your acquisition of a different company?
That you're never ready. You just have to figure it out. I think that what happens is people, believe that they have to have exactly this in order to do this. And so maybe they're held back in life because they didn't check all of the boxes until they took that next step. And maybe it's a risk thing, right? But I learned that you're never ready, and everything, it can be an opportunity if you let it, even a challenge or a problem. So when you do look at things like that, everything's figure outable, right? And so it just doesn't, it just have patience, everything's figure outable, and you're never ready.
And did you get an itch to acquire another company? Were you growing tired of the corporate world? Why shake things up? I mean, it seemed to me like, there are plenty of people in the corporate world that would die to be able to run a division that large. So to walk away from that is substantial.
Yeah. So, I mean, like in corporate world, different things happen. Can be very transactional. And so I was performing, I thought at the top of my game. I was exceeding expectations with growth rates. I was at or better than industry standards. I was recognized across the US for some of the performance standards that I had accomplished within the organization. I was on the speakers track talking, across the US, those kinds of things. And, we were purchased by a private equity firm. And so we were looked at like a spreadsheet. And so at that point in time, it became very clear. And then, certain layers start to happen within the organization. And so here I'm running a business, running the business as if it's my own, but having no control. And so when you give so much of yourself for something, for somebody else, it can be very challenging. And so, I kind of found myself in a situation where I knew exactly what I didn't want to do, which is work for somebody else anymore. I wanted to make sure that if I was putting in all of this work, effort, passion, giving so much of myself to something, I wanted that something to be mine.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where that came from.
Did it take a long time to find the right company to acquire?
It did not, which was shocking. It was really a 4-month adventure. So once I made the decision that that's what I was going to do, then I went on a mission. And John, I had so many coffees with people, right? So I was drinking coffee all the time. I'd have a coffee, talk to somebody, and I'd talk to someone and say, who else do I need to talk to? And they would give me 6 people. Then I talked to those people. I'd be like, who else do I need to talk to? They would give me 6 people. And so it was such an amazing opportunity to get to know so many people, so many new entrepreneurs. What were their stories? And then through all of that networking, I got connected to business opportunities. And so I was very fortunate because I didn't acquire a company in 4 months. That just doesn't happen in this world, right? Yeah. But I did find the opportunity that I pursued in that.
There we go. Okay, sorry about that. So you acquire it. It was 30 years old, I believe, at the time. And what was the company? It was an agency. What was the company focused on then, and what changes did you make after you acquired it?
So EMI Network is a pioneer in content marketing. So Editorial Marketing Incorporated was the original name of the business. And so pioneer in that long form advertising, native advertising. And so when I came into the business, we were very heavy in the print world. We were doing great things about, telling stories of businesses.
And this is about 2011 timeframe?
2011,
okay, so
end of 2010, 2011 type of time frame. And it was, we were our biggest partner, publishing partner. We were in custom publishing as well, was Forbes and USA Today and Bloomberg. And at that time, we were the exclusive creative firm for the Chicago Cubs because we did their publication, their magazine, Vineline.
Okay.
And so we were really heavy in custom publishing and native advertising. And
this was a movie, there'd be foreboding music of the looming digital transformation that's coming down the pike. But I'm wondering, when you acquired it, did you foresee that was a big threat, or you did?
Yeah, okay. I acquired it because all of the relationships when we had in that time were primed to move us to digital.
Okay.
So, when you think about moving to digital and when you're heavy in print, you can't do it yourself, right? Unless you're going to completely revamp your entire business model, bringing in new talent, all of that, right? So from a business model standpoint, you had to figure out how you transitioned.
Yeah.
Still paying homage to what your core competency is, but how do you transition? Well, you do that with strategic partners. And we had the best in the business.
So you didn't build the talent in-house. You found other digital marketing agencies and you partnered with them.
We leveraged the in-house departments of our publishing partners. Okay. So how do we go digital? Well, we worked with the digital department of Forbes. We were already in Forbes print. So how did we start going digital? We then collaborated with the digital departments of Forbes.
And did that require some education? Sometimes if clients think of you as one category, it can be difficult to educate them that you have other capabilities.
But when you have the brand equity of Forbes behind you, it was not a hard credibility play. We built credibility instantly in that space because who we were doing it with was Forbes Digital. Mm-hmm. So they already had, even though they were print based, such a massive brand that credibility. So we were on the shirt tails or coattails of that other organization. And that's how we birthed it. We got our start into digital. And then
you seem like a very positive person, but there must have been a part of you, or maybe other people in your ears, articulating some of the fears, right? Or there must have been a part of you thinking oh no, if our revenue is coming from print, are we going to lose all that,
Absolutely. And so, it was a parallel path where we were diversifying our portfolio of services. So how were we working with our clients? We were very project based, and we started to really work into that retainer model. So there was a number of things happening, not just that print. Not just, right? It was huge transition, not just that, print to digital, but it was also the financial model, right? Going from a project shop to a retainer based business.
Yeah.
So
but that's a very positive change from a business perspective for you.
And for the clients, because it wasn't a start-stop, so they could have some predictability in their marketing flow as well as their sales pipeline build. So, when you start and stop with projects, you buy bad marketing is really all you do when you're really focused on more project-based types of things, because it builds and it gains momentum. So you need to have a strategy and you need to have a roadmap, if you will, versus these starts and stops. So what we identified as our clients were buying bad marketing because they were just, trying different things all the time.
Yeah.
And so we serve small businesses. And so usually the business owner is very involved in the sales of their business. And so we identified that pretty early on, and we started to really speak to that owner of the business in a different way before we were selling to people within the organization. We really started to work with business owners and really help identify growth strategies. And then how can we arm them with the information and tools and initiatives to succeed?
Now, this EMI had been in business for 30 years. You step in as the new owner. What was that like, stepping into the existing team and taking over? Was it difficult to to win them over and earn their respect and have authority with them? What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, I walked into an old school advertising agency without any background in advertising. I knew business. I knew
this woman. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew business. I knew how to grow business. I knew how to develop high performing teams. I knew that, but that doesn't mean I could apply it within that culture, that environment, that business.
Mm-hmm.
And so I worked in the business before I bought the business, which did help build a little bit of credibility, I believe, with the team. But it was a time where you dial for dollars. It's advertising, right? So it's a very different culture. It was a bullpen mentality. We had the agency side, but then we really had more of that kind of almost that broker type of feel. And so it was very challenging. And in that model, that advertising industry, there's high turnover.
Mm.
So we had some folks that were long-term, incredible people, incredible what they do, and just tough nuts to crack. So, it was really hard building relationships, and it was really hard kind of figuring out who was truly in the organization long-term. The ones you think turn out not to be. And then you have some surprises with some other folks. And so it was really challenging. I mean, I don't think it's simple no matter what. If you do a merger or an acquisition or whatever the case is, you always have challenges, but your number one asset is your people. And you just have to go all in and really focus in on making sure that that is your top priority.
Right. Now, you had an extra challenge that a couple of years into it, the previous owner decided they wanted to try and get the business back, tries to do a hostile takeover, and you end up partnering with a private equity firm to fight that off. So tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah. I went out to recapitalize the business. And so word on the streets, I was with bank debt through the acquisition. So I knew in like year 2, year 3, I'd probably recapitalize the business. And so I was out doing that adventure. And that's when he got wind that I was wanting to recapitalize the business and made some attempts. And so fortunately, with all of that networking that I did, and then I was out there on the streets, pounding the pavement for recapitalization, I had the opportunity to meet some pretty incredible people. I didn't even know I was combating a hostile takeover. I mean, I didn't even know. I mean, I knew that there was some, conversations and meetings, and I had to build a little bit of a different strategy in my recapitalization effort and those types of things. I knew that, but I was naive enough to not really understand the true depth of what was happening. And one of the owners of the PE group basically said, "Lisa, you're fighting a hostile takeover, don't you?" He was an international banker and had seen it all in his lifetime. And so I was like, no, I had no idea. I just knew that I had to navigate through these tough situations and figure out a solution long term. And so he was wonderful at kind of being a mentor at first, but then helping me really develop a better strategy for the business long term. So It was an incredible learning opportunity, very stressful. I'm not even sure how I managed to go through day in and day out dealing with all of that, but life is incredible. And so, we were able to manage through it.
Yeah. I mean, for someone who was, raised to be in a traditional role, you were pretty far from it, in terms of what your day-to-day was like. And through this all, you're raising a special needs child. How do you
Yes.
manage that while like holding off a hostile takeover?
Well, I have an incredible spouse. It's tough being married to me, John. I just have to tell you that, okay? So it is hard being married to me. If I married myself, I would have divorced years ago. But I have just an amazing spouse. His name's Sam, and so we've been married now 26 years. And he had some opportunities within his career to be able to kind of pull back and be somebody within our home that I couldn't be at the time. And so I was able to be a little bit of a different provider for our family. He was able to be, kind of that pillar that we needed in the family. So, it's really wonderful because we've been able to kind of step up, step back, step into different roles in our family and in our relationship as we need to. But, I also know that, it was hard to get Will here, and we were blessed with one child. And I know that the whole reason is because of who Will is. And he's pretty special. So he's kind of easy. No, I don't say that. Kids aren't easy. You know that. But he's kind of easy to, to be a parent of. So he makes me laugh every day, and he's super crazy, and it is super tough. But at the same time, we have one. I hear about families that have multiple kids with multiple disabilities. You have four kids.
4 kids, yeah.
This one woman I met, she has triplets, and then she has two older kids, and and 4 of her 5 have special needs. And so you think about that, and God gives us things, and everything's, this by talking to me, everything's an opportunity, right? Yeah. You focus on your problems, you only have problems. You focus on your opportunities, you only have opportunities. But yeah, it's hard. It's not easy. I cut the ball all the time, by the way, all the time.
And I want to jump back to what I previewed this at the beginning. I said we talk about growth strategies that are working today. And, if you think about where EMI Network is now and looking at your website, you have a lot of different capabilities for helping businesses with growth strategies. What are some of the growth strategies that you're seeing effective today? Because there's been so much change in digital, in the transition from print to digital over the last, 13 years or so.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, for us in our space that we work in, because we do work with small businesses. So, the budgets are very tight. And, the work that we do has to be the most impactful. So everything that we do is going to focus on that marketing and sales integration. And so that's key for businesses to keep in mind, and really have that level approach. We do a lot of work that is pipeline building and sales enablement. And so when you're talking about small businesses, you're talking about growth strategies, we're really going to focus in on that. And then that really fine tunes then some of the digital strategies that we use, because when you're talking about sales, there's very specific tactics that are successful in that space. But when you're talking about branding and awareness build and those types of things, there's other digital strategies that you use. So for us, we really lean into more of that pipeline building and that sales enablement. And so our website has a lot of information, but the only reason that is the case is because we do customize our approach to the company. Mm-hmm. And we really are big proponents, and we take the business approach, with what we do. It's a little bit more we have a little bit more business acumen here than a lot of marketing agencies do, which can be sometimes very focused on that marketing conversion versus that business impact. But what we try to do and what we preach a lot is just simplifying to the market, because there is so much clutter. So if you have a complex approach, a complex offering, if you're talking about 5 different things to the same person, you're going to get shut down. It's too difficult. It's too complicated. They're too distracted by other things happening in the market. And you really kind of that power of one, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to really kind of focus in on simplifying and focusing in on that one. And then that's when digital is really successful.
Yeah. And do you continue to work with partners, like to do some of the fulfillment of the work that you do? Or have you built capabilities in-house so that you handle more in-house? What's your approach to that?
Well, we have both. I mean, I had a complete fixed model back in the day. And so everybody was in-house, every single person, but then you can't really, you're not nimble enough. Everything's changing in the market. And you can't be a subject matter expert in every single area of marketing, right? And sales. You just can't.
Yeah.
And so we do have kind of dedicated teams that help support our clients and deliver services, but we're pulling in partners based on the needs of our clients. So we have a very custom team for that client that fits the specific needs of that client. So it's kind of like the outsource model, but with a variable cost. So you can again be nimble enough, which our clients appreciate because we're able to do a lot more for small budgets.
Yeah. And now I'll bet that you appreciated that you'd done all the work of making the transition to digital when March of 2020 happened and we had this global pandemic. So how did that impact your business at that point?
It impacted pretty significantly, because a lot of people still, especially small businesses, look at marketing as an expense and not an investment, right? But yet they were all suffering because on the sales side, they still needed to bring in business. So we had created really a foundation of services that we can continue to help them navigate through those tough times. But at the same time, it was just as difficult for us as everybody else. But because we were digital, because my staff is across the country and some in their homes and those types of things, I did not have to go remote. We were already fully functioning and able to, able to help our clients.
Yeah, it was a big advantage for companies that had already, built remote teams or were at least comfortable with that. Yeah. Yeah. And now you did an interesting thing about 18 months ago. You actually decided to launch a financial services firm, which is kind of a little bit of a departure from what you've been doing so far. What inspired that?
So it's interesting that you asked the last question and this question because they actually relate. So, but before I share that real quick, what I found in EMI, I'm the lead strategist. And so I get the opportunity to get to know businesses and talk with other business owners and really kind of roll up sleeves and get, in the trenches with them. And what we found ourselves doing is we really found ourselves talking about business consulting overall. And then because we are where you go to grow, a lot of times as we're developing growth strategies, it would kind of ooze into this financial component. And so we would be helping them kind of build some budgets, and we would be helping them kind of understand, sales expense versus in ROI and all this kind of stuff, right? So we dabbled in that just as an agency overall because of kind of the relationships we were building with these business owners. So kind of park that information for a second. And then when COVID hit, I think like every other business out there, you're just calling all of your clients. How are you doing? What's going on? You just having conversations because you care about them as individuals, but you also want to know what's going on in their business to see if there's anything we could do to help. And I contacted one of our clients out of the DC market, Shirley Liu, and she runs a financial services firm, Shirley Liu and Associates. And she's been in financial services for over 25 years. And when I contacted her, her story was so very different. So she's been helping businesses and individuals for years make their money work for them, but she really focuses in on that protection piece. So she's tripling in size during COVID when the majority of our clients are not. And I financially and very selfishly ask her how she's doing it. And so she was able to help me personally and my family and then help me financially in my business. And so working through her and working with her and getting to know her, I developed an incredible friendship. I joke because it's a friendship. Then we became sisters and then we became business partners. But her story is so important, so powerful. She, as a woman, she's a Vietnamese woman. She's behind me and an author of IUL ASAP. But she lost her husband. He committed suicide in their home in front of her son. And she knew nothing about their financial situation. And he did not protect anything. So she was basically homeless because it happened in her house with 3 small children and $100 in the bank.
Oh,
And she made a promise to herself that she was not going to let another woman be in that came in contact with her to ever be in that situation.
wow.
So she fought back, and she is extremely successful. She has over 6,000 people in her organization across the US. And so as I was working with her and her mission to teach women to know their money, and then my roots as raised as a traditional woman, a lot of times you don't touch the money.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just really gravitated to her, and we just had a ton of fun together. But what I found is I came back to the Cincinnati market. She's in DC. And I just started telling my other friends in business, like how she was able to help me and these conversations that I was having with her. And before I knew it, I had clients in a business I don't know anything about. And so
I have a feeling you could sell a lot of different things. You're pretty good at it. I'm sold. Like, how do I sign up? And you're talking about women. I'm like, I want to sign up.
Yeah, let's have an appointment. Let's have a talk. But it was just kind of fun stuff. And then it became passion work, because I found that I was helping businesses in a way that was pretty powerful. We were helping employee groups. So be a little bit more aware about financial health and financial wellness. And it starts to impact productivity in the workplace and just happiness and culture. And so this is all good stuff. And, I'm opportunistic. So Shirley's like, hey, revenue share, let's do these things. And I'm like, let's do. Before you know it, I'm in financial services. And so, I have an office here in this market for EMI Network. And so it made sense to, to make this office, also the financial services firm. And then I started building teams around the work that we've been doing, because I can't do it all. So that's how the financial service firm started.
And then you have a financial literacy program that you're launching next year.
Yeah. So, our motto is to serve, educate, and empower. And, everything you do matters. You always lead with service, right? And so it just seemed very natural to develop this. And one of the things that, there's a crisis, right, in this country, where people, the majority, 67% can't afford a $400 emergency. 67%.
Wow.
We have 46% of Americans, by the time the interest is applied, will have over 30,000 of credit card debt. When you think about people that don't have any type of protection for their family and by way of life insurance or other financial vehicles, and you think about the retirement and just saving for retirement when you're living paycheck to paycheck. And so we're starting this program primarily originally for the employee groups that we're working with. Like, how do we continue to provide education and serve those employee groups, but we're opening it up to the masses, because it's an education program that everybody can take advantage of. We're going to start it monthly in 2025. And so we will broadcast these sessions on a monthly basis, and they will be education sessions. There'll be an accountability component, because we need to make sure that people are learning and growing and developing in their knowledge. It will be free for everyone. And we're really excited about it. Again, it's even though it's a financial services company, it's not about the money. Again, it's a passion-based business for us. And for me specifically, it's really about serving in a different way. It's been fun.
That's really cool. But that's a departure you didn't expect maybe 4, 5, 6 years ago to go in that direction. But that's really cool.
I still wake up going, what am I doing?
Makes it fun and interesting. I want to wrap up. This has been great, but I want to wrap up with my gratitude question. So I'm a big fan of giving the guests an opportunity to make any shout outs, maybe for peers, contemporaries, business partners, mentors, anyone you would want to acknowledge and thank.
This is a really hard question, because fortunately there's been a lot of people that I've had the opportunity to get to know, and I'm blessed to have in my life. But I'm going to do a shout out to Shirley Liu, who's the business partner I told you about, because when I had contacted her, it was during very tough times, and she was such a beacon of light. She's the Energizer Bunny. I always thought I had energy. I cannot keep up with her. She's so energetic, and she leads with her heart, and she gives so much of herself to everybody. And the things that she's been able to do for me and my family, just without even trying, is just amazing. Open arms. When I go to DC, I don't stay in a hotel. I'm in her house, which is a ridiculous home, by the way. But I call it the resort, the Lou Resort. But I'm in her home and cooking dinner in the kitchen together. And it's just, she's just a wonderful woman. I don't think she realizes how much she inspires people. And I don't think she realizes how important she is in people's lives. I've learned more from her. I help teach her some of the business, strategy side, because she's really focused in on that people and that relationship side. But I've learned so much from her, just about life and just appreciating life. And she's really impacted me greatly.
Very
and
cool.
I'm just so thankful for her.
Very cool. Where can people go to connect with you, learn more about EMI Network and also the financial services company?
So our website is eminetwork.com. If you click on the calendar link, it will actually sync with my calendar. So we can always chat that way. Obviously, we have an office phone. Check us out on social media. We're on all of the platforms. For Unique Growth, it's uniquegrowth.org is our website for Unique Growth. Again, same thing. And check us out on all the social channels as well.
Awesome, Lisa. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Smart Business Revolution podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.